I am a student of this game of writing and self-publishing. This is something that I obsess over. I consume content, whether it be videos or it's books. Of course, it is super easy and super digestible to really get into video, especially in the land of, well, YouTube. And that's where I stumble over some really great content creators. And one of those individuals being the runner or co-host of the AuthorTube Writing Conference. Her name's Margaret Pinard. Now, you might know the AuthorTube Writing Conference through former guest Esty Houston. And so I thought it was time that we bring Margaret in, talk to her about how, as an author, why did she make the decision to go into YouTube? What was her experience like so far? And how does it feel to get herself really close to the YouTube partner program so she can really further monetize her full brand over on YouTube? So without any further ado, let's jump on into this interview with Margaret Pinard. Margaret, first of all, congrats in advance on getting to the YouTube partner program. I see that you're at 868 subscribers as of the time of this recording.
Thank you, although no counting chickens, please. It's been up and down and up and down. You know the story, so.
Really? So
Yeah,
share
well,
with me what got you into YouTube in the first place, because I know you're an author first and a video content creator second.
yeah, so I had tried various other ways. I really like in-person promotion and connecting with people in person better than trying to learn new skills that are not my natural habitat. But when that petered out and the pandemic, I was like, I have nothing else to lose. Let's learn video creation. So hopped on YouTube and was like, okay, I'm going to do this myself because obviously I'm not going to have the money to pay other people to do it. And really got in and started learning how to edit and then how to stream and just like the ways of the world that is YouTube, which is kind of strange when you first get there.
It really is. It becomes overwhelming. Have you drawn that parallel between publishing books and publishing videos at all?
No, the publishing videos is such a smooth, seamless sort of cell membrane that you break out of that it doesn't feel as big as publishing a book. Publishing a book feels like you slog forever and ever. So I feel like it's a very different accomplishment. For me, the accomplishment with video creation comes not from each publishing sort of button click, but like when you're regularly looking at the analytics and you see, oh, this is a bump, or oh, I've sort of leveled up on this thing, or oh, I remembered to do this every time, like, yay me. So
When you got into doing YouTube, what were your expectations? What was the reason that you decided to try it? Because I know there's a lot of authors out there that are like, oh, that's all well and good for Margaret, but I don't know if this is right for me.
yeah, expectations were inflated, let's say. So I think like most people, you get on and you're like, oh, this is just smooth sailing. I'll just like climb up this hill like I hike, right? Just that step by step by step. But it sort of comes in, jerks and starts like a hillbilly vehicle rather than a hike up a mountain. And so when I started, I had varying conceptions of how long it would take. I thought it would be faster to get to 1,000 and be a sort of passive income as an author brand.
Yeah.
So that has taken over 3 years and I'm close and I'm sort of being much more systematic about it this summer. So I'm hopeful to get to 1,000 and 3,000 watch hours, of course. But when I started out, I thought this will be great. I'll do this on the side and then I'll keep writing. And what has happened is that I shift to this is really enjoyable. This connects with people immediately. I like to do this. And the writing, I don't know, gets to be back burner when you get into marketing too much. So I keep coming back to trying to balance it out. Yeah.
Yeah, welcome to my world.
Right? Yeah.
That's what I've been doing since 2016, and it can be a struggle to find that balance. But I think, you've really struck on something amazing, and it's something I say a lot. It's community. You've built an amazing community over on your channel, and you can witness this in the number of the live streams that you do, some of the fireside chats that you're organizing, some of the interviews, and even some of your pre-produced videos where you're kind of doing a vlog of sorts where you're sharing your author experience and some tips that authors can use. What are some things that you can kind of share with other authors that are thinking about getting into YouTube and how you have built such an amazing community?
Oh, well, thank you. I would say you have to choose your platform and focus on it. Like, you can't do all of them at once, right? So I sort of stopped doing Facebook, stopped doing Instagram for the past year, and was focusing on YouTube and building the community, helping Shannon, S.D. Houston with the AuthorTube Writing Conference, of course, took a lot of time. Really focusing on listening to other people. What indicators are they looking at? What things are they concentrating on? What things do they hear are working? And sort of sifting through all that advice. And of course, your show is a panoply of advice. And of course, I'm sure it's all good. It's just what's going to work for me. And you have to try it and experiment and then measure and then, change. And I think before I was missing that like measure and change step. And I was just trying a thing and then trying a thing and just flailing. So focus on the whatever platform. If it's YouTube, you're going to have to be regular. You're going to have to figure out how to connect with people who you think are your readers. So for me, historical fiction is not the flashy, popular one. I will get occasional people shouting out historical fiction. I've gotten a lot more play with like people who experiment and people with historical fantasy and people with mashups of genres. And so if you can extend the branch a little bit further and be like, oh, I read these too, and I'm working these into my new short story collection, stuff like that, then you have a broader audience and hopefully more connections that people give you a try with. Yeah.
That's so cool. You've had so many guests on your channel. What's the secret to connecting with them? Did you know these people in advance? Are you a fan of their channels or their work? What's that look like for you?
I've had a few guests who I was like a super fan of, and I was like, okay, plotting how to get them on, like Susanna Kearsley and Vanessa Riley and some like big historical fiction names, And that was very exciting, but that doesn't happen very often. So usually it's people who are writers, successful mid-list authors, or social media sort of mavens that I've connected with through volunteer work. So I volunteer with A Mighty Blaze and I produce for them. So I'm behind the scenes in a lot of interviews and get to meet authors. And occasionally, a couple times, that's worked to be like, do you want to come on my show? But mostly the people that I'm connecting with are people who I see doing something really well and, maybe not being recognized for that, but I can see that they're doing it well. So like I just had Hannah at Savage Reads on for one of the fireside chats, and she's I would call mid-range, 500 subscriber level, right? And I've watched her book recommendations for a while, and we have a lot of like cover overlap, and she says a lot of really great things about the books in her analysis. And I'm like, yes, I don't watch her videos religiously, but like whenever I tune in, there's something really great. So if I see something small that's a spark that could expand, I go, yes, let's see if they're open to it. And when I have done this persistent push in the last month to invite people for fireside chats, the problem was that I got shoved into spam filters a lot. So I had my lane of, like emailing people so that I had everything in the same place and could tick off all my promotion, steps. But then I had to go back and find them on Twitter or Instagram and say, hey, can you check your spam folder? I might be in there. So, you got to be persistent. That's like, you got to have that energy reserve to rely on. Yeah.
I agree with you wholeheartedly on this one. I've interviewed over 125 different authors and experts inside this industry, and I've probably reached out to 3 times as much. And I think you're right. We end up inside the spam folder, or in some instances, they don't even check their email. It's the reality. Yeah. Not everybody obsesses over email as much as I do, and I'm not sure if you're the same way as I am.
I mean, I'm on there all the time, but I'm on Twitter all the time. I'm on Instagram, like checking. I think that's one of the things when you talk about balance between like your marketing efforts and your writing efforts. The other thing to balance is that you measure all these indicators and try to see progress and see where to shift and course correct. But you also need to say, okay, I am putting too much of my brain energy, too much of my self-worth, too much of my, like feelings of succeeding into this indicator. I need to take a step back and stop checking so much. And so that's really important for me too. So
that's good. With you growing this YouTube channel and right at the precipice of hitting the YouTube Partner Program, Do you anticipate that you'll be selling more ebooks via what they call the merch shelf? Because now they offered that in the most recent YouTube partner program.
Yeah, merchandising is not something I've explored because I have had a couple partners in different efforts who design things and put it on t-shirts or mugs. And I'm like, that's great. You're doing that so well. I can't do that. I'm not a designer. And so I have this sort of like, that's not for me kind of attitude. If there's an opportunity for the merch shop, like the very convenient below your videos to offer just the ebooks, that would be amazing. I didn't know that was a thing because I haven't explored that yet. Counting.
Hey, see, look, you have to obsess over my videos. You would know that, yes, the digital downloads is a big thing. They've integrated Shopify and Spring. Spring does digital downloads for ebooks, that is. Shopify does print on demand, where it can integrate with partners like Book Vault and Lulu. But yeah, it's amazing. That's why I'm super excited for you. So running this YouTube channel, have you found that it has helped in selling more books or creating any more opportunities?
Yeah, you know what I really appreciate, and I have a playlist of this on my channel, is like other people's reviews of the book. Now I know there's a whole debate about like authors in reviewer spaces and interacting, but I have not had any bad interactions. So this is all people who have reviewed the book, and whatever they say, I'm saying, thank you, that's great. Thank you so much for taking the time to read it and posting it in a playlist on my channel, because that is the social proof. I mean, that's what you're looking for, right? So I haven't done more intense like book club interviews or talking about my books in depth kind of stuff on my channel, because I want it to be sort of on the side. Like, yes, I say these other things about books, and then you're hooked, and then we have a great conversation, then you go, oh, she writes books too. Let me pick one of those up, and not have it be a high pressure sell. So that's sort of my style, and the merch thing, digital downloads, would work really well for that. So thank you for pointing that out, Dale.
Yeah, no problem. I should probably focus a little bit more on the opportunities area here. Have you been able to meet people you wouldn't otherwise be able to meet by making these connections with other authors? Meaning that you connected with somebody who actually answered your email, and then they opened you up to their network.
Yeah.
Feel free to name drop too.
Yeah. One of my fireside chats was actually developed out of a mystery interview. So you're thriller or mystery zone, right? That's what
No, sorry, sci-fi horror.
Sci-fi horror? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what we're going to see in sci-fi horror is going to be a little different. I was helping out, and I'm still helping out, on a mystery crime thriller show on A Mighty Blaze. And they're much more high profile than my channel is, but I started helping them and producing and like introduce them to StreamYard in the summer of 2020. So we go back a bit. And I've seen lots and lots of authors pass through there. And Alice Henderson, who does wildlife biologist turned amateur detective mystery thrillers, is like right in my lane in terms of reading interests. So she came on for fireside chats, and she's been helpful in introducing me to like a little bit of her mastermind groups and like talking to people. And so it doesn't happen often, and you have to hit the right person, for that spark to be like, oh, I think we're in the same lane. I think we like the same things, and you would be good for my people, and I would be good for your people. So it doesn't happen often. It's like dating. But when it does, it's like, sunshine and rainbows.
You make it seem so easy, so passive and such like that. What's your secret to that mindset?
What seems easy?
The way you're putting out content and connecting with people and having them on your show, and it just seems so easy to me the way that you're kind of presenting it. What is that mindset that you have behind that?
Okay. So like my goal is, there's the schedule and I want to stick to it. There's that initial like, here's the YouTube rules of the universe. And then there's like, what do I fill it with, and how do I get creative with that? And I feel like I sort of wax and wane. So if you have been to the channel, you know that April was a month of a mini vlog, a short every day, where I was writing every day and uploading a vlog, and that was like very new for me and intense. And then May, June, July was sort of AWC processing, conference stuff. And then July, I was like, okay, be systematic, work, get your head back in the game. How are we going to like punch up to the next level now? So that waxing and waning is sort of how I manage energy as well as manage time commitments, right? So I can't go 100% all the time on YouTube. Like, number one, there's writing, but also number two, I think that would just like burn out my energy and my positivity for the platform. So when I thought, okay, what's the next systematic thing, the next push, the next like nano energy I'm going to bring to the channel? And that was the fireside chats. And so I just started like mapping out who would be on it. It would be new people, so I'm getting to new audiences, and that sort of thing. It's sort of like strategic thinking, which is not my training or background for marketing, but like I'm trying to get there. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Well, you're definitely getting there for sure. You brought up something, and someone, of course, good a friend of both of ours, Shannon, ST Houston, and getting involved with the AuthorTube Writing Conference. Now, if I recall, you were part of the first annual AuthorTube Writing Conference, but this last year, you actually became co-host of AuthorTube Writing Conference. How did that come about, and what was that experience like for you for the first year to the second year?
Yeah. So the first year was, let's see, we're in 2022.
Yeah.
And I think Shannon had approached me in the winter with this idea. And I was like, I have this and this and this, and I think this is going to be overkill. So I couldn't commit to being a partner on the team. So she ran it with Jenna and like did a fabulous job. And I applied as a presenter. And I could see from the outside that there were a lot of things moving. And I was like, that is organized brilliance. Like, I am so impressed right now because I've run a festival
Likewise.
as well with a partner. And like, I know that takes a lot. And so I thought, okay, so when she asked again, because Jenna had a schedule change the next year, I was like, yeah, let's do this. I think I can contribute, and I think this can help the channel, and I think it'll help me meet a lot more great authors on YouTube. And, once you get inside the machine, it's a lot messier than you think. But Shannon and I were sort of like flinging and jiving and, like trying to manage things as best we could for our own sanity and like the most exposure and the most engaging speeches, workshops, seminars, all that stuff. So yeah, we've had a lot of lessons learned both from the first year and the second year, and are like revving up and expanding the team for more brilliant organization goodness in 2024. So excited for that.
If someone were to ask you, like, because we know there's a ton of virtual conferences online these days, especially since 2020, you've just seen just an avalanche of these things. What sets AuthorTube Writing Conference apart from most virtual conferences?
Shannon's idea for the mission is that it was going to be the same experience as going to a writer's conference, but free and accessible. And so that has been her like guiding light. And so when she thinks of, we have a first page critique panel, and we have meetup rooms, and we have variety, and we have a schedule that people can map out beforehand, it's very like going to an actual conference. And so I think just continuing in that vein and getting different folks and diverse voices and, the latest and greatest topics in the author world is just going to keep going in the right direction. But yeah, her like accessibility and for people who are trying to do this on their own and just really need a helping hand, because I think Shannon's idea was, I would have liked someone to help me start out with this. And so she's being that person for other people, which is wonderful.
I know there was a couple times this past conference here a few months ago, and I won't share any experiences and such, where, oh my gosh, you guys were having to juggle a lot of crazy stuff. Different personalities, different tastes, different quirks. Kudos to both of you for running that, and I'm really glad that you guys were able to talk Shannon off the cliff there, because she was just ready to throw the towel in. And I thought it was just an amazing organization that she was putting together, and I knew it was taking a lot of time. Well, speaking of time, we're getting down to the end of our time together, Margaret, and I'm going to ask you the same thing I ask most of my guests anyways. It's going to be, what advice do you have for aspiring authors and self-publishers out there?
Oh, in the year of our Lord 2023, when so much has changed. Actually, I just did a 10-year anniversary, right? So this is my 10th year in publishing, and I had a couple friends on the channel to talk about what we learned, our highlights, our motivations. And the lesson I guess I would take out of that, or advice for aspiring writers and self-publishers, what's the best nugget? I had this queued up for the talk last Saturday. Give me a second. I think I would come back to the balance of like you're putting forward and you're keeping for yourself. So when you think about marketing, when you think about collaborating, when you think about all these initiatives that get your book out there, that help sales, that help exposure, for me at least, I need to balance that with, and I go for daily walks, and I do morning pages, and I have time with people who aren't in that world, because that balances and like feeds energy back and forth. So just keeping an eye on the bigger picture of YouTube's not real life. You have a life outside of YouTube. Make sure you hold on to that, and it'll keep you fueled for the longer term.